talking about the woke culture of Disney and Hollywood in general. You guys understand that, Generation X and even many of the millennials, we can see past this kind of stuff and it doesn't really affect us that much. You know, it's our children who are really being affected greatly by this kind of stuff because they don't have the filters in their brains set up the same way that we do. When you reach a certain age, it's almost like you have to think critically. It's almost like you have no choice but to think critically. Like me in my late 40s, I like somebody tells me something, hey Shafe, it's like this. Like automatically, I don't believe them until I verify it, or unless it just rings true to a belief that I've already sort of carved out in my brain. But you got to understand that kids aren't like that. You guys got to understand that when information comes from either an authority figure, that's one way to get into a child's brain, is an authority figure. Another way to do it is through entertainment, making them laugh, making them smile, making them excited about whatever. You associate certain concepts with, pretty colors in a cartoon or cool music in a show or any type of emotion, any type of emotional reaction that a kid can have. That's where people don't understand where we're really losing ground is with our children. I've talked before about the norm for me growing up, and I'm sure you guys talk about that kind of stuff all the time. Back when I was a kid, this is what the norm was. We had rotary dial phones and we didn't have the internet and we didn't have cable TV, and I watched cartoons on Saturday morning because that was the only time they ever came on, and blah, blah, blah. And then, and now things are much different, well, think about your grandparents, though. Your grandparents, for the most part, thought that TV in general was just a waste of time. They're like, you only watch cartoons on Saturday morning, but, when I grew up in the Great Depression, I was out plowing the fields on Saturday morning, and you're sitting here eating a bowl of cereal watching Captain Caveman or Aquaman or whatever, The Hall of Justice, Super Friends, So they knew, the old people back then, they knew that TV was no good. They knew that it was just rotting our brains. I mean, they had no idea what TV was. All they were used to were reading books and maybe listening to the radio every once in a while, and the rest of it was just working their ass off, struggling to survive. And then they see their grandkids growing up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and the kids are just sitting there for hours at a time just staring at a box with fucking colors blaring and music and shit. It's like that's all it is. Sound effects and colors. They had to look at that and be like, what the hell? But I don't know if anybody could have seen what was on the way, as far as, the internet and YouTube and all the, TikTok and all the ridiculousness that kids are exposed to now. I mean, I can't even tell you, man. I can't even, it's so hard to keep up with what my kids are doing. It's so hard to, it's literally to the point now where my wife and I are telling the kids, okay, when you come home from school, you've been at school all day, you've been in school for 7 hours or whatever, fine. You can come home and you can be on your devices for 1 hour. And then after that, that's it. It's time to do your homework. It's time to eat dinner. It's time to, just chill out with the family. It's time to play with your toys, whatever. But, and my kids have baseball practice and they have all that other sort of extracurricular stuff that they're involved in, which thank God for that, man. Because if they didn't have that, if they didn't have extracurriculars, they would be addicted to video games and addicted to YouTube, because that's all they want to do when they're not in school and when they're not doing their baseball stuff and their football stuff. I mean, when I tell them, 5 more minutes, you got to turn your device off. It's like, oh, come on, Dad. They just, and it's like, what are you getting out of this? Like, I'm sitting here watching you, and like 3 seconds into the video, you just swipe up. 3 seconds into the next video, you swipe up. And then maybe this video comes on and it's making you laugh, or you think it's interesting, or it's something cool. So you sit there and you watch it for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And then all of a sudden, I hear one of the guys in the video drop an F-bomb, or I see some girl running around in her underwear in the background, or whatever. And my son's 7 years old. I'm like, turn it right now, And I talk to my wife, I'm like, there's got to be some kind of filter that we got to put on this thing. But it's like, right now, the internet is like the wild, wild west, man. There's no real good device. Like, I know there are ways to try to filter that stuff out, but there's no ratings, Any kid can just get on and just flip through YouTube and just see the most ridiculous stuff known to man. And again, I try to be careful when picking my battles. I really don't care about the racial stuff. I really don't. You want to have a black Cinderella? What the hell do I care? What do I care? I don't care. As long as they're saying appropriate stuff, what do I care if it's black Cinderella, Asian Cinderella, Hispanic Cinderella? What do I care? The only thing that I think is funny about that is that it's cultural appropriation on their end. Like, like white people invented Cinderella, and then black people come along and say, oh, we're going to make a black Cinderella. Well, okay, that's fine if you want to do that, but then don't cry when somebody, quote, appropriates your culture. When we have a white rapper come out, or, like Eminem's appropriating your culture, blah, 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 whatever. Like, it's a two-way street. It doesn't just work for you, but it doesn't work for us, and it doesn't just work for us and not work for you. It's, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. You're either going to tolerate it or you're not going to tolerate it. So I tolerate it. I don't care. You want to have a picture of black Jesus, black Santa Claus, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. Now, if Black Santa is saying kill Whitey, then you and I might have to have a talk about that. Black Jesus says all white people are going to hell, then yeah, we might have to have a conversation about that. But I don't care about that kind of stuff, because that kind of stuff is just, they're just trying to divide us. It's just divisive stuff. It's stuff that you're getting mad at it because you see the hypocrisy in it, but at the same time, it's like, who really cares? Like, let's focus on the important things, like the indoctrination of our children when it comes to certain things. I don't want my kids being indoctrinated. I don't like words being hijacked, like inclusivity, right? Inclusivity is, on its surface, is a good thing. You want to include everybody. You don't want to exclude certain races. You don't want to exclude kids who are different from other people. You don't want to exclude, but do you include everybody? Like everybody? No, you don't include everybody. You don't include dangerous people, right? We don't go to prisons on death row and get unrepentant mass murderers and bring them into a children's classroom and have them read storybooks to children. We don't do that. Why not? Because that's a threat. It's a bad idea. It's the wrong place to put a person like that. And I know, like, the big question about, drag queens reading to kids, and, it's just like, really, I don't even think the kids are probably just confused. Like, why is that man dressing up like a girl? I don't know. Like they're more confused than anything else, but it doesn't have to be that to be inappropriate. Let's take a heterosexual person. Let's take me. And I want to go in to read to school children. But what I decide to read to them is Penthouse Magazine. Look at this, everybody. Look at that full-page spread. Look, she's spreading her legs wide open. What do you think about that, boys and girls? Look at that. Is that pretty cool? Yeah, check that out. Oh, here, I got a little box of sex toys that I decided to open up. You see this little thing? If you flip it on, it starts vibrating. You see that? What do you think that is? What do you think that's for? Joey, you got your hand up. You tell me what you think. Oh, my mom's got one of those. Right? So you don't have to be gay or a transgender to not be allowed in a classroom. It's the content, and it's the way you present yourself. It's the way you present yourself. You know? And if you're trying to invite people in that are, quote, controversial, then it's pretty clear indication that what you're trying to do is you're trying to desensitize children to a certain idea. That's what you're trying to do. That's why they do it. But the bottom line is, should 6-year-olds really be even thinking about that kind of stuff? You know? Should 6-year-olds be thinking about sexuality at all? Or should they just be thinking about, you know, drawing a straight line and learning their ABCs and learning how to count to 100 by fives, or learning the difference between a verb and a noun? I mean, why is the education system trying to bring political issues? Like, there's got to be a reason for it. There's got to be a reason for it. Why they're trying to bring political issues into the classroom. There has to be a reason. And I know that the reason is because they understand who their audience is. Their audience is extremely impressionable, and they figure if they can desensitize and they can program kids at an early age, then they'll grow up and they won't be bigots. They won't be bigots. They think they're doing a good thing. They really, really do. They think they're doing a good thing. But the thing is that they're not getting the parents' permission before they do this so-called good thing. And us as parents, man, we have to be on top of this stuff. We have to, as much as we can, it's not 100% preventable, but as much as you can, monitor what is going into your child's brain, because your brain is a sponge. I don't care what anybody says. Whatever you fill your brain with, when you squeeze your brain, the same crap will come out of it. You fill your brain with garbage, you know. You fill your brain with, like, you fill a sponge with muddy water, you squeeze that sponge, muddy water is going to come out. You fill a sponge with clean water, you squeeze it, clean water is going to come out. Period. You know, that doesn't just go for your kids, it goes for you too. It goes for me. You are a product of what goes into your mind. Period. That's why you have to guard what goes into your mind. That's why you have to guard it. That's why I don't watch the news anymore. It's garbage. My life is better for not knowing all the details of what's going on between Russia and Ukraine right now. My life is better for not knowing all the details about Hunter Biden's laptop and Joe Biden's, you know, cluster bombs or whatever. Like, I hear people talking about it. I just don't. There's nothing I can do about it, so I'm just going to sit there and get angry. I know how I want to vote. I know what the issues are. It's not like I completely cut myself off from it, but I don't need to engage in the 24-hour news cycle. It's not good for me. It's not good for me. Period. That's why I don't do it.